Hello everybody, welcome back. It is the smartphone round robin. We are in week 4, which means we are in the home stretch. There is not much time left. This week I have the T-Mobile G1, and this year for the round robin, as you may have noticed, we're starting with videos for the first part and then doing the full review later. And I'm here in front of the camera because you've already seen this. You've seen this on 3 other sites. They've done excellent jobs, the other folks who have taken a look at this device. And so you don't need the standard walkthrough of the hardware. You've seen that before. But what I want to do today is I want to make an apology for the hardware of the G1. And I don't mean apology like, oh, I'm sorry, you suck. I mean an apology in like the apologia sense, the classic sense of a full-throated defense and justification for why the hardware is what it is. I'm making the argument that this hardware right here was the perfect hardware to launch Android on. I think the G1 hardware is great. I'm really happy with it. I think it was a perfect mesh of form, function, and ethos. So I want to take a closer look at this. I want to show you why I think that and why even the chin is awesome. Alright, here we go. Let's start with the build quality of the G1. It's actually very solid. You can manage to get a little bit of creak on the screen, but it's just, everything about it is firm. Now it's plasticky, and there's a bit I have to say about that, but even the slide up screen has a plastic feel to it. And I'm going to get back to that a little bit later when I talk about the ethos of the device. But for right now, what I really want to focus on, this hinge is awesome. You can see there's all sorts of complicated parts in here. And, there's a nice little curved rail here, so it actually doesn't go straight up. It comes around to the side. And that's awesome for a couple of reasons. One, it gives it a feel of the original Sidekick. This has got a history here with the developers of the G1 that's related to the Sidekick. And so, like the Sidekick, you get this really solid, kind of classy feel to it. And the other thing is, because it doesn't go straight up, you don't need to worry about hitting on this side or whatever. Anywhere where you slap your thumb on it, you just give it a little push up at an angle, and the thing just pops right open. And, of course, the screen rotation is really good. So, number one, I am a big fan of the hinge mechanism. Now, the other sort of design thing that everybody knows about the G1 is that chin. And I gotta say, I want to defend the chin. I believe in the chin. I think that it is a great design choice. First reason, it angles up so it matches the angle of your face, so that it just fits better. So that's fine. But whatever. That's not a big deal. More importantly, I'm setting it down here, and let me adjust the camera so you can. So here I've set the phone down. Now you can, of course, set it down like that. And when you do, though, you're going to cover up the speaker. And one of the poor design choices is the speaker is practically flush except for that little nub. So that doesn't work very well. But if you set it down like this, you can see 2 things happen. Number one, the screen is not touching it. And since the screen is plastic, that actually makes you feel a lot more safe because it's not going to be crushing it. The other thing you'll notice is there's a trackball right here. But try as I might, no matter how hard I press, I am not able to accidentally select the trackball. So if you leave the screen unlocked, you can't accidentally select anything by setting it down. You just, boom, you know that your screen is safe, you know that your trackball is not getting pressed. It just works. So by far the most important thing when it comes to designing hardware for a device is that the hardware and the software be pretty seamlessly merged. And in that sense, the G1 does fair to middling. I mean, you've got a trackball here, you've got very instant screen turn rotation. You've got a search button here to pop you into search that's also context sensitive, which is very nice. So if you go into, say, the browser and you hit the search button, that gives you a search bar within the browser. There it is. And if you're in the App Store, it gives you a search bar within the App Store, and so on and so forth. But more importantly, or as importantly, the ethos of the device, the sort of feel of the device is dictated first by the hardware, by your first impressions of the hardware. It tells you something about the device. And this device, it's big. It's plasticky. It's very clearly plasticky. And, it's got some soft curves, but it's not slick hardware, metal, whatever. It's telling you something. And what it's telling you is that the OS inside is Android, and, that it's maybe not quite ready for prime time. Maybe it's still a little bit beta, and that's okay. It also creates a feel. It sets up your expectations, as I said, but it also, the feel of the OS with its big buttons that are kind of cartoony almost, and sort of really large widgets that you can hit with your finger, but it doesn't have that elegance of the iPhone. It's, it's sort of big, matches the look and feel of the hardware itself. It's sort of big, right? It's also unique and it's new, which, again, is important that it comes off as something that doesn't look like just another phone. But, I mean, let's imagine, what if instead of this, they had taken and made a form factor to start with Android like this, like a BlackBerry, QWERTY keyboard, there's a trackball here. What would you expect if you saw Android on a device like this? You'd expect messaging, and then you would compare it to the BlackBerry, you'd compare it to a Trio, and you'd say, well, how does it handle email? How does it handle SMS? You'd go into all those things, and you would compare it to that first in your head. And, Android is not a messaging device. It is a Linux phone that is its own beast, and so it's not fair to set it up in a comparison with that. Similarly, if they had gone with a slab, if they had gone with just this, immediately people would be comparing it to the iPhone and asking about its media capabilities, which it falls completely flat on, asking about, is the interface consistent? Is there a very pretty UI? And so on and so forth. And no, the interface is not totally consistent. The UI is decent enough, but it's not very pretty. And so they don't want to compare it to the iPhone either. Even, something like a little Windows Mobile slider, or even this, a standard slider. If it was a standard slider, people would be comparing it to Windows Mobile. And it's actually, maybe the fairest comparison. But, this sort of is a business get work done kind of device. And this isn't. This is a consumer device. And so the fact that they didn't go with the glossy, the fact that it's not, doesn't feel high end, it feels consumery, makes a difference. If they had gone, to the far end of the consumer spectrum, the small and cute little Centro, people would be expecting, OMG BBQ, not what this is, which is a sidekick for grown-ups. And so they really nailed it in terms of making this device unique and new and giving you a feel that doesn't set you up to compare it possibly negatively to other smartphone platforms. It's a consumer smartphone in a way that's approachable and hackable. And I'm going to leave you here with the device that it reminds me most of, because I really do think that this is the Apple II of smartphones.
All right, so I need to back up that claim that the T-Mobile G1 is the Apple II of smartphones. What I mean is that the Apple II was one of the first computers that had a combination of both designed for the consumer and a regular user, but also approachable and, most importantly, hackable. You could open the thing up and look inside. It had it sort of a big, bulky plastic feel, but it wasn't plastic like it was cheap. It was plastic like it was mass market. And the G1, to me, feels the exact same way. It's designed to make you think, hey, this is Linux. I can do whatever I want with it. Hey, I want to develop for this, or I want to toy around with it. And also, it's designed for me, the average Joe. And so that's why I think that. So, of course, we haven't gotten into the OS at all. We will have a full look at what a Windows Mobile user thinks of the Android OS and if it's really as hackable as I implied. In the meantime, don't forget that every day that you make a post on this post at WMExperts.com, you're automatically entered for a chance to win an HTC Fuse and a Celio Red Fly. So definitely check us out. Thanks.